Are you ready? 20 seconds start now. Ten seconds remaining. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up.
All right, everybody, you are with us on the Lights Out Sports Podcast. And for those of you who are with us right now, live, and you're looking, you're like, whoa, what is that? That, ladies and gentlemen, is a Sirhan. No cheese today. He is on a much-needed, much-deserved vacation, so we brought in Sirhan to help us today. He is going to be part of the All Gloves All Sports Network. We will talk about that as we get more into the show. But Sirhan, buddy, I know you're from the Cincinnati area. I see the gloves in the background. Tell us a little bit about Sirhan.
Tell you a little bit about Sirhan. You're talking about one of the all sports historians from past to present. Love all sports, basketball, baseball, boxing. My number one passions. I grew up. Also other sports such as MMA, baseball, and soccer. Love all sports. Love to talk sports. If you guys follow me on my platforms, know I have a show that talks about sports from past to present, and it's something I just enjoy doing with the love and passion, and I just love just debating sports.
All right, buddy. Yes, he talked about his show, and you can see that over on his X platform. That X is at Sirhan on X, right? Okay. All right. And then you can see All Era Sports with Sirhan. That is what the name of the show is. We certainly appreciate Sirhan being with us. And as we said earlier, he, sometime in the month of June, will be with us on All Gloves Off Sports Media. We welcome him. We've been friends for quite a while. I know he had a medical thing that he had to deal with, and now he's back. He's better than ever, at work, at home, behind the microphone, ready to go. All right, Sirhan, thank you very much for being with us. And by the way, for those of you who are there and are wondering, what is the boxing gloves in the background? He loves boxing. And for the first time ever on Lights Out Sports Podcast, we are going to talk combat sports here in just a few moments. Can't wait to get into those discussions. But first, we're going to do a new show here on the podcast that, I don't know, we'll have to decide if we're going to keep going or not with it. We'll decide that here at the end. Maybe you guys can help us with it. Simply get on to the chat. You can click the comments and be with us here, myself and Sirhan, of anything that we talk about during the show. I'm sure that Sirhan will repost this on his X right now and bring in his millions and millions of fans with us as well. So, without further ado, let's try this new episode. It's going to be called Good Job, Stupid Sports. So our first recipient in Good Job, Stupid is going to be Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice today violated his parole. He tested positive for THC, marijuana, however you want to look at it. He was booked today and won't be released until June 16th. So that means he will miss both OTAs and minicamp for the Kansas City Chiefs. And we got to say it one more time. Rashee Rice, good job, stupid. Sirhan, what do you think about Rashee Rice?
Well, let's trace back to what happened 2 years ago, and that it's what led to all of this. And as everybody knows, that it led to some because the NFL didn't realize they wanted to perform more punishment after what he did. I guess they got a backlash, obviously, and he was given another chance, basically saying, "You mess up, you're doing 30 days," and we know he just messed up to do the 30 days. And what makes it worse, he's a week removed from having a procedure done on his knee, apparently, according to all the media outlets. That makes it double worse. So now you're going to have to rehab in a cell. And now, for him, he's more likely going to play out that rookie contract in Kansas City. But the problem moving forward is he going to get another contract elsewhere because of this? What happened now today is the Chiefs have put themselves between a rock and a hard place on what to do with this guy. Mm-hmm. But as for Rashee Rice, you was given another chance. All you had to do was stay on a straight and narrow and stay clean while you're on probation. Being on probation means, we're not saying you have to live behind closed doors. Just go out and stay disciplined and stay out of trouble. He didn't, and because he didn't, that's why we have the result that had today. And who knows what the NFL is going to do next. But it's another case of a chance to make things right after what took place. People called it an isolated incident. But now, where are you going to go from here if you're Kansas City? And it's even worse for Rashee Rice moving forward because who knows, maybe the Chiefs move on from him after his rookie contract is up. It's got a real mess. And Rashee Rice only has himself to blame. Remember, he was given another chance because, remember, some people thought the NFL should have done more after what happened 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now the NFL is going to really have to do more given the backlash they got after they let him off the hook for what took place 2 years ago.
So, Sirhan, I'll say this, though. Do you really think he's the only NFL player that, if he was tested today, would get bitten for being under the influence of marijuana?
No. There's others also.
So, is it that big a deal?
Maybe it may just for him and the legality standpoint, it is. But in terms of long term with the team, if he manages to get over this and just balls out like he's capable of, it's not. But it's up to him to show he can put this behind him, stay disciplined, and just simply ball out. That's what it's going to come down to. He can make it. He can either make it a no deal, or if he continues the route he's going, he can make it a bigger deal. It's all on Rashee Rice. I agree it's not as big of a deal given the question you asked, but it's all up to him to make it a no deal. So when he gets out of jail after his 30 days, the focus is now going to be on him to make it as if it's no deal.
So what does Kansas City do? Or do they do anything? Or do they wait till after these 30 days that he has to serve in prison first?
Well, they're probably going to put out a statement saying they're going to wait the 30 days. My guess is he's going to finish out his contract there. But it's going to be tough for him to get a second contract moving forward because the Chiefs are going to be asked all kinds of questions about what happened during this 2-year period from what happened with the accident in Dallas to now. So that part is going to be a bit of a hurdle. But I said, if he balls out, I mean, it can all be forgotten, but it's all on him. But I say at the very least, he plays out the rookie the contract he has. I know people calling for him to be cut. I don't think that's going to happen because he can make it right. He's too talented, but it's all on him to make it right.
Okay. So that's our first one. Now we've got a second one here. I was looking to see if I could find out anything additional on Pete Crow Armstrong because he's going to be our next Good Job Stupid Sports. So Pete Crow Armstrong, if you don't know, was in Chicago this weekend. They had a big rivalry game between the White Sox and the Cubs. He went after a ball. He crashed into the wall. He missed the ball. Kind of sat there on his butt on the warning track. I don't know if he was dazed or what happened exactly when it was all done right there. But then you had a woman who was in the outfield The outfield is kind of designed where there's like a chain link fence right there, and you can like talk right to the players. They're eye to eye with you, right? And so she started saying some probably not too friendly comments to him about the fact that he misplayed a baseball, and he's a terrible outfielder and something like that, right? But then PCA come back, Pete Crow Armstrong, abbreviated as PCA. He came back and he told her to suck a certain part of his anatomy, right? And it was on video. He even admitted after the game that he knew the phone was there. He saw the phone there. He knew the people were recording, and he still decided to say it. Pete Crow Armstrong, good job, stupid. Sirhan, if you're the Chicago Cubs, what do you do about Pete Crow Armstrong?
This one, I'll acknowledge. I'm reading this as you was talking about it. Now I'm going to look at this a little further. I'm sure the guy is going to be reprimanded hard because of not just because he went after fans, but the choice of words he used. I mean, and I get it. Fans are going to heckle you to death, and they're going to say things that are outlandish. As far as what the Chicago Cubs should do, I mean, you reprimand him. If it happens again, then you start to take action. But the choice of words is what makes this worse. And I get it. Fans are going to – you talked about this in other shows I've watched of yours and others before. People over there, they're getting intoxicated, and they say things that are out there. And I've heard some real out there stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Pete Crow Armstrong, I mean, I get it. I mean, I know part of it was there was a camera in his face, if I recall correctly. A lady had a phone camera and was caught. That part, he should have known better to say, not to say anything, but say the words he said. Because sometimes those words is what sticks out. And it's something where I think everyone needs to have a conversation with this guy and say, yeah, we understand you're upset, but don't get involved in it. And hopefully, moving forward, it's a learning experience. Now, I know some Cubs fans would tell me this guy have some interesting feelings about PCA, on baseball and other things. This here, probably over the top, but the fact it was caught on camera and the way it was and how everything was out there, he should have understood a situation and know better. I get it. Athletes are human beings that act in the emotion of the moment, but at the same time, he himself should have known better.
Yeah, so I'm looking here. According to Talking Baseball, Pete Crow Armstrong has been fined by Major League Baseball for the altercation, but it looks like that's all he's going to get. No time suspended, nothing like that. So again, that's according to Talking Baseball, TALKIN, Talking Baseball, a couple hours ago. That's the latest thing that I've got on it here as I was preparing for the show. So I don't know if that's enough, Sirhan. I mean, he called her a word that rhymes with witch, and he was again. He even said he regretted the words that he said because he was like, the ladies that know me don't want me to talk like that about other females and yada yada yada. But the heat of the moment, he did talk about, I'm very competitive on the field, and Sirhan, I understand being competitive on the field, but you've got to be tactful all at the same time. So my last question to you is, before we jump into the combat sports stuff that we're going to talk about the MMA fight stuff over the weekend, is him being fined enough for what he did?
I would have had one of those strong fines of a significant figure that sent a message. I understand people wanting more for the reasons you said, but maybe I don't know what was the figure.
We don't know. It just says an undisclosed amount. So.
Okay. If I was going to find him, I would find him a significant amount that it really hits the wallet and let him know it's not even tolerable. I mean, I get why you would say more should have been done to send a message, but what a question I have is, what more could you really do? I mean, if you want to put him one of those like insane amount of a fine for something like that, I would be fine with it. It's going to be a case of what he does moving forward because it can turn it as an isolated incident, or if it happens again, then yeah, we better start taking swifter action, sit him down for a couple games. But I would have been fine with one of those swift 6-figure fines where it was just an insane number through the roof as a way to hit the wallet to send a message.
But the NFL, we just talked about this. The NFL did that with Rasheed Wallace, or excuse me, with Rashee Rice, right?
Yeah.
Rasheed Wallace. Oh boy. They just did that with Rashee Rice, and here it is. He didn't learn. He didn't listen. I hope Pete Crow Armstrong doesn't go down the same path, but I would kind of rather them. If it had been me, I'd have probably suspended him for 5 days, knowing that he's going to appeal it, and it would probably get dropped down to 3. And I don't know. I just don't think fining him an undisclosed amount of money is a good enough reaction to what he did and what he said.
Question is going to be moving forward. What is that undisclosed amount? I mean, did you give him a slap on the wrist, or did you take a figure where it hits the wallet? I mean, when you say undisclosed, right, it makes it even more confusing with the situation. I understand where you're coming from, and of course, we know how the baseball appeals process works. It's always all over. I like to say all over the place because it's player to player, situation to situation. But yeah, I would understand it. My guess is if it's an undisclosed amount, it's probably just something real light. Where I thought it should have been something significant. I would have a problem with a light suspension, but that was probably as far as I would go. But something needed to be something strong to hit him hard to send a real message. When it says undisclosed, how do you define undisclosed?
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting next week when we get Cheese back on here. He's a big Chicago Cubs fan, so I can't wait to see what he will say and how he will react to "Good job, stupid," Pete Crow Armstrong. All right, so we usually do the 5 flaming 5 and 5, but I didn't want poor Sirhan to get all hot under the collar over there and those flames closed in on him and he panic or anything. So we'll save that. So when Cheese is on with us here. So, but what we will do is we will get into something here. First time ever on the Lights Out Sports podcast. It will be Combat Sports. All right, Sirhan, here we go, buddy. I am not a huge MMA guy, but we're going to talk some combat stuff because I know you are. I want to be respectful to the guests that we have on today. So let's go ahead and do this for a moment. So this past weekend, Sirhan, we almost said Cheese. This past weekend, Sirhan, I'm just so used to it. We had a fight card with some controversy on it. One, I'm just kind of like I said, just kind of a casual MMA fan at best, but I was looking at possibly watching more stuff from the Octagon because it's now cheaper. It's on Paramount Plus, and I've got a Paramount Plus membership already. But what was on Netflix, is that considered MMA, UFC, something else? Help me, explain this to me. Sirhan, what is the difference and what am I going to be watching if I go to Paramount Plus?
Well, you just call it a mixed, basically MMA, or just general mixed martial arts, because it could include all kinds of combat sports. You go to Paramount Plus, it's basic UFC action inside an octagon where it has, just like MMA, but it's more hardcore to the bone, where you have what we had Saturday night in Netflix, it was more cross combat. As we have it in the UFC, it's more straight combat. That's what you had. And I should add real quick that when they got that deal with Paramount Plus, UFC hit the lottery and hit it real good because Paramount Plus has done great business. And when UFC went there, it really started making real business.
Well, yeah, I mean it's cheaper. It's the problem that I've got right now with that other 4-letter network that all of a sudden has all the baseball stuff, and they've got all of the WWE, and they've got everything, and they're charging or trying to charge me an arm and a leg and a few fingers and toes off the other side to watch their product. And at least for the time being, I'm refusing to do it. I'm not going to, so I'm dropping some of those other things a little bit, and I thought maybe I would replace it with UFC. So second thing here, let's talk about the actual fight that happened over the weekend on Netflix. Ronda Rousey won her fight in 17 seconds. And some people think that the fight was rigged. Do you believe that, Sirhan?
No.
Why not?
Well, let's start with the Carano angle. And it's true for a lot of athletes, and I say this more for the combat sports, and when I follow boxing, I talk about this. You're out of the ring for a long time, and the second you get in that ring, and even the great Sugar Ray Leonard said this when he was away from the sport for himself for the longest time. You try and get back into your form of your career in athletics, it's in some shape or form, where you're out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get rust in some capacity. When you have it as long as Gina Carano has, and Carano was one of the more active fighters in combat sports on the women's side for the longest time, and she goes away and then comes back, you're going to feel it, especially at her age. And the one thing Ronda Rousey had going for her was she was active not just with combat sports, but her time with the WWE, which I know the WWE is what it is, but she was more active of the two, while Carano was just away, just making movies and doing what she was doing. If you're that far away and you're not engaged or having some form of training going on to prepare you for a fight, regardless of how long you've been out, you're going to get it in an instant. And that's why everything took place the way it did. It was set up. It was everything there for Rousey to win, and she took full advantage of it. No, it wasn't rigged, just simply because Carano hadn't been of significance in the MMA field in over 17 years. And we got away for that long. It shows, especially at her age now, it's going to show more than ever.
Right. So if you look at past Ronda Rousey fights, in 2015, Rousey won a fight in 14 seconds. And the year prior, she won a fight in 13 seconds. And if you look at all of her pro fights in a bubble like that, to where you can see everything, she has only had one of her pro fights go the distance, or excuse me, not the distance, but go past the first round. So this is kind of what Ronda Rousey's always been, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
So why would you expect anything different?
Nothing. She was at that point was paid to be like an MMA version of what Mike Tyson was when he was coming up. The person that came out and just blew you away. That's what Ronda Rousey was trying to be in the UFC for the longest time till the Holly Holm fight happened. So this comes as no surprise, because that's how she was built and at least brought up through the UFC when she was there at her heyday.
All right. So as you were saying, Gina, is it Carano, right? That's how you say it?
Carano.
So, I mean, come on. This is so weird. I almost called you Cheese again. I have to keep stopping myself. We've done this podcast for so long together. It's just weird having somebody else over there on the other side. So she was never going to win anyway. I mean, like you just said, she hasn't fought in 17 years, and she had to lose 100 pounds just to get into competition shape and weight. This fight might not have been rigged, but it was just two names, one of which had a slim to none chance of winning, and the one that didn't win still got, I believe, $1.1 million. So as soon as Rousey slaps the armbar on her, she can just give up and be done, right?
Yes.
So, being more of an MMA fan than I am, did you told me off air that you watched the fight, right?
Yes.
So what'd you expect? I mean, were you expecting some big knockdown, drag-out fight between the two of these ladies? Or what did Sirhan think was going to happen when he turned his TV on to Netflix?
Thought it'd be more strategic because how Rousey came out, the chance I thought Carano would find a way to strike Rousey coming in, because that's how Holly Holm beat Ronda Rousey.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw Carano enter the ring and I heard about the substantial weight cut, I had a feeling it wasn't going to go past maybe the second round max, simply because at that age, having to lose that much weight and being out for 17 years, all the signs were there, and it was going to add up to her, and it was going to add up to her real quick, and that's what happened on this particular night. I expected maybe a little more effort from Carano, but the second Rousey jumped on her and put her in the armbar, which is the smart thing to do on that night, it was basically over, and it's understood why Carano wound up doing what she did with the tapping out. Remember, when you're getting struck at age 40s and 50s in that type of environment, it's not different than being struck when you're in the 20s and 30s. Because when you're up there, you're going to feel it a little more. And that's probably what happened with Gina Carano that night, especially with all the things you just mentioned.
Yeah, I can contest. It's not a little more. I mean, my age now starts with a 5, right? So, a lot of you guys know I work at a prison. I'm a corrections officer, and it's like, I used to be okay to fight. I mean, I'll still do it if I need to, but I also know it's going to hurt a little more if I get into it with somebody. So, I completely understand. Let's jump for a second to this. This was not in your notes, so don't stare at them because it's not going to be there. All right. Ronda Rousey has said that she's done. This is it. But help me here. I don't think so. So Ronda Rousey's like an independent fighter right now, right? She doesn't have a contract with Dana White's company. She doesn't have anything, right?
Correct.
What about Holly Holm? Does she have a contract with anybody right now?
As far as I know, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think she does either. Everything I read said no. But let me ask Sirhan, if Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm do the same kind of thing on Netflix, right? And they get paid a couple $1 million a piece. Do you think Ronda Rousey will say yes? Do you think Holly Holm will say yes? And we'll see that fight before the end of the year?
I'm sure. More than likely.
All right. That's interesting. That comes right from the mouth of Sirhan. And I've got one more for you. This one was in the notes. So I understand that there's this rivalry between everybody, right? And Dana White was trying to bring light to his company, and the company that fought on Netflix is not Dana White stuff. So it's a different breed, and he was trying to bring attention back to him. So in order to do so, he announced that Conor McGregor is coming back, and he's going to fight Max Hollowell. But Sirhan, is this fight going to be another one like Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano?
Depends if Conor McGregor takes it seriously. Problem is, he hasn't taken his career seriously. And the last time he's had a fight of relevance, he was pummeled by Khabib in one of the most unreal beatings where we see in all combat sports. And I say this when I talk about boxing, that sort of thing we haven't beaten out of you. You're basically done. And remember, he had some other knockout losses in the middle. The capper, of course, he had several fights scheduled with Michael Chandler and backed out of them, what tells you right there, you should question what if his heart is really in it, because it's going to come down to whether if his heart is in it, because he hasn't been relevant in quite some time. I said before, the knockout losses, they were to Dustin Poirier. And Dustin Poirier, no one's going to mistake him for some of the greats that ever come through the UFC, but in the 2 knockout wins he had over Conor McGregor, it was effortless. And when you're losing that effortless in fashion, he lost to Dustin Poirier, and avoiding a guy like Michael Chandler, it questions how much your heart is in it. And if he's going to take this fight, and if it winds up like a Carano Rousey type fight, he needs to just go away for good, because no one's going to mistake the opponent. What was the name again? Max Hollowell for some of the other guys he beat. And if it gets to that point, you might as well just hang it up.
All right. So is Max a good fighter? Do you know much about Max, Sirhan?
He's a solid fighter, very unique style, good striker. And if you hold me to it, because of how Conor McGregor didn't have the heart and didn't take his career seriously in recent years, I'd probably favor Hollowell.
All right. That's interesting. So we'll see if it's I'm not sure exactly when the fight is. I didn't look that part of it up, but I don't know. I'm still kind of up in the air, Sirhan. We're going to talk combat sports here for the first time. This is going to be the end of this segment. We're going to do something else here in just a second, but I'm still on the fence. If I want to go to Paramount Plus and start watching this and start getting into it, what would you say to a person that's on the fence like me? Would you say go ahead and start watching it because it's really good? I tell you what, sell me, Sirhan. Sell me on the UFC product on Paramount Plus.
It's a heck of a product worth watching. I mean, if you like action and form of sports, something that's on basically every week, especially when some of the main team sports are in off season, go ahead and watch it. Especially with some of the deals Paramount Plus has for the UFC, it's certainly better than what they had when it was on the other network, which they were just absolutely abysmal and the service was just terrible. I would recommend it to anyone who's first time looking to see how combat sports is and how the UFC operates. It's something I would highly recommend because it's always a high level action of some sorts, and it's always entertaining to watch, especially at times when if you're deep into team sports and they're in off seasons. It's something that keeps you going, and it's certainly one I would highly recommend.
All right, sounds good, buddy. So we're going to jump in and do something else here. We're going to talk about our Cincinnati Reds. All right, there it is, Sirhan, the best baseball graphic in all of podcasting right there behind you. Watch out, those flames are hot, buddy. So we're going to do nothing but talk about Cincinnati Reds here for a few moments. Sirhan, you are from Cincinnati. Tell me before we get into this, what's the pulse of the city and what are they looking at around the Cincinnati Reds? They started off strong. Now they're kind of declining. I think they won today. I saw Chase Burns was really good today. What's the pulse in Cincinnati around the Reds right now?
It's flattened out after surreal optimism to start the season. And we consider what happened when they got double swept by Pittsburgh and Chicago the way they did, especially how they were walking batters left and right against Pittsburgh. It was starting to flatten out, and now it's basically back to what it has always been when it comes to the situation. All hope, but nothing of substance. And again, they're calling for everything from Francona to Krall to the ownership. And the radio airwaves, they've just been doing whatever they can to just put that team on absolute blast. And it's just gotten to where it's what it's been in the previous years, with the exclusive, of course, last year making the playoffs.
All right, so you talked about, I'll use the word, the Reds are imploding right now, Sirhan. Mostly from the bullpen. So if you were Terry Francona, how are you lining up this bullpen without Pagan as your closer?
Pagan is a tough. A lot of people were mixed reviews of Pagan. I'll just say it before I get started. That's a bigger loss than people think, because you're the closer to a sure thing, closer you got. My guess is, look at some of these names here. I guess you probably have to go to Graham Ashcraft, or actually, for a minute before he started to fall off the last few appearances, I started to like Connor Phillips a little bit. So there's a place you could go. It's not much. You don't have a place to go. It's what are your options? Because remember, they don't play their starters deep, and we're already losing Nick Lodolo and Hunter Green. That rotation's already thinned out. And you really put a lot of pressure on Andrew Abbott, who can perform pretty darn good, but at times he can be hit and miss. The question I have is, where do you really go? Is simply because the options here are thin. We talk about Graham Ashcraft, Sam Moll, and of course Tony Santillan. It's really an intriguing dilemma where this guy's going to go, because the options are getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yeah, so the bullpen got off to a really hot start, and that's why they were winning all those one-run games, right? But somebody on this show said you're not going to be able to keep doing that when you've got a negative run differential, and that's what the Reds have right now. So I predicted this a few weeks ago when Cheese and I were talking about the National League Central. He was trying not to be really happy because he is a Cubs fan, but let me give you some statistics because I love stats, buddy. So Tony Santillan, right? He has a negative 0.2 WAR, wins above replacement. He's got a 5.50 ERA and only 18 innings with 18 hits, and he's given up 7 home runs, 9 walks, and 18 Ks. Your guy you talked about a second ago, Connor Phillips, also a negative WAR. It's a little bit better at negative 0.1, but he has 25 2/3 innings. That's a lot of innings for a kid with a 5.26 ERA. He's given up 20 hits in those 25 innings, 15 earned runs, and has, this is crazy, 26 Ks, 26 walks. Ashcraft, Burke, and Mall all have double-digit walks. The Cincinnati Reds as a team, you ready for this stat? You said it a little bit earlier, and now I'm going to hit this thing home. The Reds as a team, Sirhan, have issued 17 bases loaded walks so far this season. That is not a misprint. 17 bases loaded walks. All the guy's got to do is stand there with the bases loaded and he gets an RBI. Last year, they only had 7 for the entire season. This year, they've got 17. I'm trying not to go too crazy. And the Reds' 9th inning ERA, 7.65. The worst in baseball. Sirhan, you said there's no choices. What are the Reds going to do, buddy? Stop laughing.
Your guess is as good as mine. I apologize for laughing because I don't know what you can go with this. I mean,
yeah, it's bad.
What can you do? I mean, just go to the prayer to the Lord of above, I guess. I mean, those numbers are a total unreal. Something I've never in the years I've watched baseball could never imagine any team putting together. And we talk about 17 bases loaded walks.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm just wondering, and I say this all due respect, how do people have jobs with that sort of stat line? Because that's one of those. I mean, if you're walking, it's one thing we walk, 7 in a season. I mean, which is about, I believe, around an average at one point. Mm-hmm. You're walking 17, and we're not even into June. I mean, that is
day yet.
Yeah, there's just something. You just scratch your head, and you must have to go back to the drawing board and see what you can come up with. And the problem is, with all the numbers and the guys you said, you put one out there, he's going to be giving up runs. If you bring him back,
you just cross your fingers and hope they don't give up more than 3, right?
Right. And because of what you just said about how the beginning of the season was and being so reliant on the bullpen, it was going to catch up, and it was never sustainable. And what also doesn't help their cause is, we didn't talk about this yet. The bats are just absolutely as terrible because at one point, if I'm correct, we had at least a half dozen players hit under 200. You need at least some form of run support to help them. And when you have half your lineup hitting less than 200, you're not getting anywhere. And, I like everyone else. I tried everything I can for Hope because they were finding ways to win in the beginning. But all of those numbers you said, and we just talked about, it catches up with you, especially in a 162-game baseball season. Yeah. And it was like at this point so far, it caught up them real early and real quicker than people expected.
Well, yeah, I mean, even right now with the win they got today over the Phillies, they're 25-24. You're like, okay, good. They're above 500. They're 4.5 games out of first place, which isn't insurmountable. They're 3.5 games out of a wild card, which again isn't insurmountable. 5-5 in their last 10. But here's the kicker. They are negative 33 in run differential. In other words, they've given up 33 more runs than they have scored. And they are the only team in the National League Central that has a negative run differential. Everybody else, Chicago's plus 36. The Milwaukee Brewers are plus 67. The Cardinals are only plus 3, and the Pirates, even the Pirates are plus 18. So this is a it's not just a small problem, like, one little tiny thing. This is a huge problem. And let me give you some more stuff here. So it's not just the bullpen. It's the Reds need to lengthen their starters, right? The Red starters, are you ready, Sirhan? The Red starters are only going an average of 5 1/3 innings per start. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's got to be terrible. So I looked something up, and I want to go back here for a second because I want to see your face when I say this to you. So let me get back to the right window here so I can look at that pretty face. But 5.1 innings or 5 1/3 innings, however you want to look at it, is awful. And then I looked at the major league average. You know what the major league average is?
Want to say roughly around 6.
5 2/3 innings. One more out. That's it. So, Sirhan, here's my question for you. Why is this a trend in baseball, and why are they so dependent on their relief pitchers when all of these starters are getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars?
Well, there's a couple places you could go with this. I mean, maybe one of them, I guess, if you want to, you talk about spending the $1 million on some of the you call it top of the rotation guys. I guess they want to protect their assets. But what are you really protecting if you're only pitching a guy 5 2/3 inning, and then now you're bringing guys out of the bullpen and throwing their arms out, and then we're coming just like we're going through here in Cincinnati. You get to that point, the arms are gone from the bullpen. Question I have is what from the manager's point of view, if a pitcher's pitching 5 2/3 and they're just lighting it up. Great. Not everybody is a Paul Skeens. We all know that. But
correct.
But you're pitching a guy 5 2/3, and he's putting up solid, not in some cases solid numbers. We're not talking about great numbers, solid numbers.
Mm-hmm.
What's the mindset of the managers to pull a guy, especially when we talk about the top of the rotation guys that can go 6, 7 innings and salvage the bullpens, because if you're relying on the bullpens, as we talked about, the Reds are the perfect example. All of this is going to happen, and it's just it's very mind-boggling. And we're not just seeing it just here; we're seeing it all over the place. And it's crazy that it's only 5 2/3 across the league. Mm-hmm. In the past, it was always in the 7s at least.
Yeah, it was. And now we've got these. There's a stat called qualifying start, right? 6 innings, 3 runs or less, and that's just going by the wayside. When they made that stat, I remember saying on another show that I was on, when they made that stat, that's basically saying, okay, if you're a starter and you can get to 6 innings and only give up 3 runs or less, man, that's good. I'm going to be honest with you, Sirhan. I guess maybe I'm the old school get off my lawn guy or whatever, but that's not good enough for me. If I got a guy making millions of dollars and you say, well, I don't want him pitching the 3rd time through the order, why not? That's what you're paying this guy for, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't understand this logic. I don't understand this way of thinking. And I was just trying to see if you were on board with me or not, because we didn't talk about this before we came on the air or anything. So I was just kind of wondering where you stood with this, and if you're the manager, are you gonna leave your starter out there a little bit longer to try to save your bullpen, or what are we gonna do here?
Yeah, you might as well just leave them out longer. I mean, 6 innings of 3 runs or less. I mean, we talk about when they instituted that stat of quality start. It's gotten to the point now we're seeing managers use the analytical well and just say, okay, you got a 6 innings, 3 runs or less. It's over. Let's pull them.
Yep, your job's done.
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, that's. I would just leave it. If it's 6 innings of 3 or less runs, that should tell you the guy can go another inning or 2 at the rate he's going, and should be able to at least hold his own. Now, if something happens that 7th or 8th inning and he starts to mess up or flounder around a little bit, then you go ahead and pull him. Mm-hmm. But 6 innings is not as much as people think today's baseball game. And 3 runs or less is not that, it's good, but it's not as great as people make it out to be. And if it gets to that point, play for another inning or 2 and see what you can get out of him. That's where, the baseball starting rotation has started to go in an interesting direction.
Yeah, so I'll show you the post, or I won't show it to you because I don't have it to pull up in front of you here. But Just Baseball put out a post. I had to like it. I commented on it because they say Chase Burns was lights out. And I was like, oh yeah, we got to use that. The Lights Out Sports podcast. We got to jump on that. Which, by the way, for all of you who are with us on X right at the moment, we are the highest trending live broadcast right now on X. We appreciate all of you doing that for us. I'm sure Sirhan had something to do with it too. Chase Burns today was lights out, but he only went 6 innings. 6 innings, 3 hits, only 1 earned run, no walks, 9 Ks, 18 whiffs. If you've got that kind of stat line and your manager looks at you, Sirhan, and says, okay, your job is done. What? What is that? No, your job shouldn't be done. Let's see if we can get another inning out of you. I mean, let's at least bring you back out. And if you get in trouble, we can always pull you. We'll have somebody ready in the bullpen over there. And we won't let you, bloat your ERA or anything. But I just don't understand how the managers and stuff look at it at this way. And it's not just Terry Francona, guys. This is everyone because of the way everything is right at the moment. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is right now. So I've got this final thought here, Sirhan, before we jump into batting cleanup, and that'll be brought to us by ForwardFan.com. We'll talk about them in a moment. We've got 2 other sponsors. We'll do the newest sponsor next week, and I'll give you another sponsor here later on in the show as well. Sirhan, you're doing well when you're starting to get sponsors and people are starting to get behind you, and that's what we're doing right here on the Lights Out Sports podcast, as well as a conglomerate on All Gloves Off Sports Media. So here, I have heard and I've read that the Reds have no good bullpen arms in their system. And I don't think that's true, Sirhan. I want you to talk about, I don't know if you know who this guy is, Chase Petty. I have been screaming for Chase Petty for a year in the offseason this year. Ricky and Roger over on Red Hot Reds podcast can tell you I was on their show a few times. I'm like, we need Chase Petty. Chase Petty has 15 walks and 32 strikeouts in 31 innings in Louisville. He pitched well in that game against Chicago when they called him up for the emergency start and then sent him right back down. He pitched well in that spring breakout game. I was there in person against the Giants, and that just wasn't any Giants players. Those are their creme of the creme of their minor league players. And he mowed them down like a John Deere. But he would become the Reds' long relief guy. That's what I want for Chase Petty right now. Bring him up. He pitches 2 or 3 innings every other day, and he starts saving this bullpen. Sirhan, I wonder. I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm not. But I just wonder, Sirhan, and I want to get your opinion on this. Is he or his agent may be afraid of going to the bullpen where pitchers make less money than becoming a starter? I mean, when the Reds go to Chase Petty and they're like, okay, son, we need you to come up to the major leagues and we need you to pitch out of the bullpen. And Chase Petty and his agent go, no, because I want real money, not this bullpen money. I wonder if that could be part of it, Sirhan. What do you think?
Could be a more than likely can be. If you can find a word like less than afraid, I would use it, because afraid seems like they're totally scared, but I think they're not. And I have seen you and Ricky and Roger bring him up, and a couple of guys have posted videos of him. I like the stuff he brings, and those numbers you brought up. I mean, the guy would absolutely help. Just get this. All you need is 2 innings of just hold the team down as best you can. Correct. He could do it. I mean, I saw the clips you guys said. I heard Roger and Ricky talk about him. I mean, I like what I see. Bring him up, give him a shot. I mean, do they think the guy can be a starter? I can't read their minds because that's
it's not real hard to do, Sirhan.
Right. I'm not a psychologist, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But yeah, if you bring him up, all you need is 2 innings from the guy. I mean, if he get 2 innings, it saves everybody else, because now you have arms that are going to probably throw. We talked about the names earlier. Those arms are going to be done within the next few weeks at the rate they're going. Mm-hmm. And by the time it gets to the All-Star break, we're not going to have any bullpen help. Yeah. You might as well just bring them up, see what you got, and what happens from there, give it a shot. I mean, you have nothing to lose at this point. So give it a shot. Bring him up, and don't just bring him up just to send him back. Bring him up, and that's how we're going to figure out what he has.
Right. So here's one of our friends from the far end of the bench podcast. Obviously, not an exclusive, baseball podcast. These guys are from Colorado, as you'll see by what he's saying here. So they say, since I live in Colorado, I've been to Colorado. It's a beautiful spot, by the way. He says, since I live in Colorado, I have to ask, what point of the season do fans need to give up hope if their team is going to be like the Rockies? Now, the Reds aren't the Rockies yet, buddy, so just calm down over there. But obviously, you can't be negative right away. But how long do I have to wait? Sirhan, he's in a different spot, right? He's a Colorado Rockies fan, and we're already pretty sure that the Rockies aren't going to make it, aren't going to make the playoffs, aren't going to do anything. So I like what he's asking here. How long can he wait? Is he allowed to go to games in the first month of the season and still cheer his team on and be like, okay, I think we've got a chance. Maybe. Or does he have to wait till Memorial Day, kind of the third way through the season? What do you think about that, Sirhan? Or maybe we should ask this way. If the Reds really start falling off, how long will you stay a fan, or will you jump to something else?
I'll still be following. I'll still be a fan. It's just when the time comes to follow something else, I probably will. But I will still keep a track of it. I mean, I understand what that fan of Colorado is saying, because it's been a worse situation for a while. And, I understand where you're coming from out there. But still, I mean, if you want to go to a game, hats off to you. I mean, even though you win, if you lose a game insurmountably, still, I'd say still go ahead and go, at least show some support, because, what is being negative and staying at home going to do? I mean, it's not going to change the result if you go or not. If you want to go have fun, go ahead, regardless of it. I mean, I've been to Reds games where the team has been absolutely abysmal, especially last one I went 2 years ago when the Phillies just smashed us out of Cincinnati. But I was at least able to get that picture of Rosie the Red. If you guys seen it on my platforms, you know what that is. But I was able to enjoy myself despite everything else. I understand what he's saying, and it's frustrating when you go and your team is getting whacked upside the head like ours did that day. Mm-hmm. But still, nothing wrong with being a fan and not I understand the negativity, but nothing wrong with being a fan and still supporting your team through tough times.
So, Sirhan, do you do a budget kind of thing? So like, does the team have to be above 500 before you'll buy a jersey? Does the team have to be at a certain point before you'll buy a ticket? Or are you one of these guys that's like, I am not wasting my time on this crappy team? Because I think that's kind of where he's leaning to in Colorado, saying, I'm not buying a hat. I'm not buying a shirt. Not till they get to be a decent team and I can actually feel like I'm representing something good when I put it on my body. What about that?
Well, I can speak for myself in this NBA sense, because I've been a San Antonio. Everybody knows me. I've been a Spurs fan since before David Robinson came around. And I still stuck out with them the years that David Robinson went down before we drafted Tim Duncan. And after Tim Duncan retired, we went to the depths of humanity. And our record was in the bottom barrels. And, of course, we drafted Wemby, and we know what's happened since. I've stuck it out. Now, granted, it's not for everyone, but I can only speak for myself in this instance. I stuck it out knowing that, someday it may happen. But if it doesn't happen, I'm still going to support them. I'm still going to cheer them on, root for the best, and hope for the best. Because if I go in feeling negative about it, then how does it make me? I do understand the negativity part, like he said, and what you just said. I wholeheartedly get it. But I guess only speak for myself is I rode and died with this team with the black and silver, and look what it's paid off in the end. Just do whatever floats your boat. If you want to spend dollars for a team with 500, have at it. If you want to spend it when they're less than 500, have at it. I mean, just goes to show that you're just a diehard fan that wants to ride or die with them. I get it, especially in Colorado, which the team is just absolutely bleak with the baseball. But still, I mean, just tough it out. That's the best thing I can tell you.
Yeah, but I mean, are the Colorado Rockies fans or let me think, the Kansas City Royals fans this year? They've just fallen off the face of the earth. I mean, are those fans going to be on our spot in the beginning where we're like, good job, stupid? I mean, is that what we're going to do? Because they're loyal fans, or do we give them credit because they're loyal fans, Sirhan?
Well, we better give him credit because any fan could jump off when the ship is sinking, or say, okay, my team is terrible. I'm going to be a fan of another team because I've seen that here, especially with the dark years of the Bengals, where everyone jumped off and then came back on, and then went back off and then came back on. I mean, what does it say about you being back and forth, back and forth?
Okay.
I mean, I get what everybody's saying, but if it were me, I'm just one of those guys that's been a loyalist. I'd rather just ride it out with them, win or lose. I mean, tough situation, very difficult. Yes, I understand it, but as I can speak for me, I would give them credit because they stuck it out with them.
All right, so we appreciate it. Far end of the bench, one of our friends here on the Lights Out Sports Podcast. Thank you for the question. We certainly appreciate it, and anyone can do that as well. Go ahead, Sirhan.
I'll say for that account, great follow on X. If you guys aren't following him, follow him. Great Colorado stuff. Much respect to that account.
Yes,
love him.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right, guys. So we're going to do batting cleanup here for a moment. Just basically a spot, Sirhan, where we kind of hit things really quick. We'll talk about them for 2 or 3 minutes apiece, and then we'll just move on here. So batting cleanup is brought to you by forwardfan.com. Use the code AGO, all gloves off, obviously. So AGO10 for an additional 10% off World Series tickets right now. If you go to forwardfan.com, basically what they do, Sirhan, is they lock you into a price for World Series tickets right now based on your team. Okay, so we've talked about the Reds, so I thought we'd do World Series ticket prices right now on forwardfan.com for all the teams in the Central. Let's rattle them off to you. And by the way, before we get into these numbers, even if there are seats in the very top of the stadium, there's still $1,000 to $1,500 a piece. All right, just know that going in. If you're a Reds fan right now, Sirhan, like I know you are, and you want to lock in a ticket price if you think the Reds are going to go to the World Series, there's a chance. $55 right now to get a World Series ticket for the Cincinnati Reds. The Brewers are $75. The Cubs, and we can see who everybody thinks is going to go, they're $250. And if you are a fan of the St. Louis Cardinals, who are actually in second place in this division right now, you in St. Louis can get your World Series tickets for a mere $20 a piece. So forwardfan.com, go to their website, lock in your price, just like they've locked in their support to the Lights Out Sports Podcast. All right, Sirhan, here we go, buddy. Let me give you a few of these little tidbits. So Reggie Jackson turned 80 years old yesterday. MLB and Topps are actually giving away a really nice autograph card. It's pretty cool. Go to our X page. All Gloves Off SM is our X page. You can go there. You can see a picture of the card in our feed there. So you can see that post. Do you have any memories, stories, maybe nuggets about Reggie, Sirhan?
Well, I saw the biopic a few years ago, Reggie, about him. And just the interesting thing about how we talk about how hard work and perseverance pays off. He was an example of it when he went to, of course, the Kansas City Athletics before they went to Oakland. And after terrible year in Baltimore, we know what he did with the Yankees to get the name Mr. October.
Sure.
Just a guy, you want to put it this way, just a guy who got the job done. The resume speaks for itself. But the biopic, Reggie, is something I would highly recommend. It was a great
All right, so again, this is Batting Cleanup brought to you by forwardfan.com. On May 4th, Sirhan, the Tigers were tied for first place in the AL Central. That was the day that they lost Tarek Skubal. As of yesterday, I don't know what they've done today, but as of yesterday, they are tied for last place and have gone 2-11 in that span. So is the number one starter really that important, Sirhan?
Well, if they're going to have that stat we talked about with the quality start, I guess not. But if we're going to play the guy innings as opposed to that quality start stats we talked about, of course it is, because it sets the tone for the rest of the rotation. If you're playing the guy 6 innings, it's give or take. But if you're playing the guy pitching the guy 7 or 8 innings as your ace, it certainly is important, because then you have someone you can lean on when the times got tough. And losing Skubal, however you want to dice it up. Brutal for the Tigers. Look at that pitching staff the rest of the way, and look at that record as a result.
All right, I'm with you. I don't know. I have to push back on this a little bit here. I don't think that if I'm building a team, I'm going to go more offense first because your offensive players, they affect every day. You know, they're out there a lot more. Your number one starter or your number two or three or whatever it is that you're paying millions of dollars to, they're only pitching once every 5 days. So even in that stretch that we were just talking about there, let me pull this back up here. So let's see here, they lost him on May 4th. And as of yesterday, they went 2-11. So, you know what, 11, 12, 13 days. So he would have only pitched 2 days of those 13, only would have gotten them 2 more wins. So they'd be 4-9. That's still not great. I think there's more wrong than just the ace, Tarik Skubal. So, but I don't know if, you know, so now your number 2 guy has got to be the number 1 guy, and the number 4 guy has got to be the number 3 guy, and you got to bring somebody up from the minors to be your 5th guy. Maybe all of that stuff put together is what's making that record what it is. But just me and the way I would construct a ball club, I would go more offense first just because I think they affect the game more. Last one here on batting cleanup, again, brought to you by forwardfan.com. Go to their website and use the code AGO10 for an additional 10% off of the tickets that you buy on the World Series right now. According to the X account, Baseball History Nut, which you can get them at nut_history, one of our friends as well that follow us on X, just like all of you guys should, as the other over 8,000 people do right the moment. Here it is, Sirhan. Back to the Reds for a second. Eric Davis had the same amount of home runs and stolen bases in the first 6 years that Barry Bonds did. From 1984 to 1981, both of them hit 142 home runs, and both of them stole 212 bases. So here's my question. We know about Barry Bonds and his Hall of Fame stuff. Eric Davis, Sirhan, is he a Hall of Famer?
I'm going to bring up the Reds fan in me, and I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I mean, this guy, you talk about that period. I mean, they put the Reds on the map, and we talk about, remember what he was able to do in the 90 season that let them wire to wire to win the World Series that year. The guy was an impact player every single which way possible. Everything he did, he made an impact. I mean, it goes more beyond the numbers. We talk about that period at the time what the Reds team was during that period. Of course, he belongs because you're talking about some of the guys that during that time around that played during Davis's time. There's some with, if you want to call it this, lesser stats, or you call them lesser players in there over him. So absolutely. So homie, do it. I think he belongs.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer or not. I'm not going to, well, you know what? I am going to brag for a moment. I just saw him a few weeks ago. He was at spring training. I live out here in Arizona, go to spring training every year, got his autograph for, I don't know, the 5th or 6th time. He's always generous to you, as long as you don't try to take up a ton of his time. If you walk up to him and you say a few sentences to him, usually if you ask him a question, is what I've found, then he will be like, yes. He'll answer that question, stuff like that. So he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He spent 17 seasons in the majors, but here's the crime that I think is, most people that's watching this podcast right now probably don't know this. And if you're a Reds fan, just make sure you sit down before I tell you this. He was eligible in 2007. During that eligibility process, you have to get 5% of the vote or you fall off the ballot. Not sure if I like that rule. Don't really, it's probably not something we want to discuss right this minute, but Eric Davis, on his first year of the ballot, he only got 3 votes. Yes. And so he fell off the ballot on his first year. So he is not only not in the Hall of Fame, he is no longer eligible to be in the Hall of Fame unless he gets voted in by a veterans committee or something like that. When I read the fact that he only got 3 votes, I was like, what, are there only 3 Reds fans that are on the Hall of Fame ballot voting? I mean, what was going on there? 3 votes, I think, is insulting. But I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer.
I think he was marginal. The only reason why I liked him, I always had my heart for him. Forget about the stats, just the impact he made on the Reds team when they got him in 84 and what he did in 90 when he went wire to wire that year. Yeah, his numbers weren't that great, but just him on the field and the impact shows just how great he was. Yeah, everything happened to him afterward, but his greatness was there for him. And that 6-year run you talked about just showed how great he could have been and how great he was at the time and how great he could have been had everything fallen his way, because he was headed toward that path at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking at everything. 17 years, 26 triples. He only had 282 home runs, which I'm really, that surprises me. Stolen bases were 349. So, a 269 batting average. None of those numbers really scream Hall of Fame. But I also understand and like what you're saying. Do we look at things other than numbers? Do we look at the effect that he had for the rest of the team? Do we look at what he did on the field? And, being a Red at that time, he also had to go through some racism stuff that again, we're not really going to get into right at the moment, but there were some underlying factors that I think maybe could have been considered for him to be in the Hall of Fame. I just thought it was interesting that he had the same career the first 6 years as Barry Bonds did, and I thought it was even more interesting that he only got 3 votes when he was eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know that. I did not know that till you just now said it.
Yeah, I didn't put that in the notes on purpose. I wanted to get your reaction off of it. So
right,
I do that to Cheese every once in a while too. I just don't put things in the notes and then I hit him with it and see what happens. So,
but I just said sometimes people overvalue the numbers too much. I know you're a stats guy, but there's some people that do. But there needs to be some balance when we talk about numbers and impact, because some players, and I'd say all sports, they go beyond the stats that make an impact, and sometimes that needs to be looked at and look a little deeper, a little harder, simply because sometimes, so I know some players like new NBA and the NFL, they can stand on the field and do next to nothing, but still find a way to impact a game that makes things, makes them better than what the numbers say they are.
Absolutely. So let me give you a few things here. One of our other sponsors right at the moment is Frost Buddy. Please go over to Frost Buddy, frostbuddy.com/Red Hot Reds. That's their podcast that actually started all of that. They are a part of All Gloves Off Sports Media, but you can go there to that spot. I believe it's 10% off of everything that you get from Frost Buddy if you use that code, which is, again, Red Hot Reds, frostbuddy.com/Red Hot Reds. We will have the QR code for you here soon. We'll put it up on the screen, and it'll make it much easier for you guys to be able to do that. In the weeks to come, May 4th, we're going to do the Lights Out list. We already did it on the National League Central. May 11th, we did the AL Central. So this coming Tuesday, 1 week from tonight, Cheese and I will be back, and we will do the National League East. The Arizona Sun Devil reporter will be with us next week. Michael Cartenuto, I think. I don't know. He might have to hurt me later when I mispronounce his name. But you can find him on Twitter at Diablos005_. So make sure you go and visit him. Tony Bennett actually was supposed to be on with us tonight. He had to cancel, so we're pushing him back to June 2nd. Make sure you tune in on June 2nd. That's 2 weeks from today, where he will be our guest, and we will do our Lights Out list on the AL East. Now I'm going to make a whole lot of people happy, because for the next 2 weeks after that, there will be guest hosts here, because I am going to take a vacation. I will probably actually see Sirhan. We're all going to get together. I'm going back to Ohio. Going to spend some time in the Cincinnati area. Sirhan, I will message you off air and let you know exactly when and what's going on and what all we're doing. So I won't be here either the 9th or the 16th. right? So you know what? I won't be here the 9th or the 16th. I'll just go ahead and do it for all of you. Yes, I'm sure you're that I won't. But then we're going to come back on the 23rd. AL West is what we're going to be doing for our Lights Out list. And we will have Wayne Gregory Jr. on. He is with Name Sports, and I can't wait to get his take on the New England Patriots. That's what we'll be doing with him there on the 23rd. All right, guys, you know that it's at this time that if Cheese was here with us, we'd be doing our Lights Out list. But he is not. So what are we going to do? Something a little different, something a little special. And that's why we've got Sirhan with us here today. So we're going to give you the top 10 music, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do based on a post from another friend of the show. It's like I've been dropping names all day. I don't really mean to, but I want to give them their credit all at the same time. So let's do this. Here we go. Got Sirhan rocking out over there as he's taking a swig of his drink. And look at him doing the big head bobbing thing over there. All right, so what we're doing here real quick, guys, is this. Sam Block. You can find him at the Block Spot on X. Again, it's at the Block Spot over on X. He put up 14 quarterbacks, and he said, if you had a choice between these 14 guys to build your franchise around, who would you pick? We're not going to do 14. Guess how many we're going to do? 10. That's right, 10. Imagine that. So we're going to narrow it down to 10. I'm going to tell you what the 10 people are, the same people that I gave to Sirhan, and we are going to decide from 10 to 1, who would you start your franchise and build your franchise around? There's some familiar names here. Let's do it. Here we go. The 10 names are Shedeur Sanders, Bryce Young, J.J. McCarthy, Jackson Dart, Mac Jones, Cam Ward, Malik Willis, Carson Beck, Michael Penix Jr., and Fernando Mendoza. All right, so let me start at the bottom, work my way back up to the top so that everybody's listening to us live can kind of jot some stuff down. And then you can comment and tell us where you would put some of these guys. Who would be your number one quarterback to build your franchise around? Here's the names again. Fernando Mendoza, Michael Penix Jr., Carson Beck, Malik Willis, Cam Ward, Mac Jones, Jackson Dart, J.J. McCarthy, Bryce Young, and Shedeur Sanders. All right, man. This should be a fun little exercise here, Sirhan, as our numbers just keep climbing and climbing. We appreciate you guys jumping on board with us on X, on YouTube, and on our Twitch account that we have now, where this will also be available on audio-only platforms tomorrow. Which platforms are those, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. They're going to be available on Spotify, on Apple Music, and on iHeartRadio. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Lights Out Sports Podcast is everywhere. Okay, Sirhan, you've had some time to think about this. Where do you want to start here? Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go ahead and go first.
All right, he's like, yeah, you go ahead and go first, buddy. Okay, so with the music in the background, we'll keep going here. These 10 people, and where would I start? Well, I'd start with Carson Beck. The last 2 seasons, he has had over 300 completions, and he's had a completion percentage of over 70%. He has thrown for over 3,500 yards in both of those. His touchdown to interception ratio, 24-6, and also 30-12. But here's the thing, Sirhan. Until he does it in the NFL, I can't give him too much credit for all of those great numbers. So I have to start my list with Carson Beck, number 10, of the quarterbacks who I would build my franchise around. Sirhan, who's your number 10 guy, buddy?
Well, I'll just add it with you. And to add on to what you just said, I mean, the guy was in. Well, if I'm correct, it was drafted third round by Arizona, which I wonder. Of course, it's the Arizona Cardinals, and you made a good point. We talked about it earlier. They brought him in so they could just stink and just send him out the door once they're done stinking. But the thing with him was, even in his final year at Miami, nothing really was something that told me he could be a franchise guy I could build around. His arm strength was never all that great. Some of the decisions he made, especially in that championship game against Indiana, especially the game-ending interception, tells me the guy that really doesn't have it. So that's why I would put him on the bottom, just for the sake that he might have the tools, but doesn't really have the stuff to put it together to be a type of a franchise quarterback in the NFL, which of course makes you wonder why the Cardinals drafted him third overall. But again, they'll probably take it for a higher draft pick, and he'll probably be out after the season.
So what Sirhan's referring to here, we talked about it off air, and he was watching the show the other day when Cheese and I were talking about him. Cheese has a theory, and we're going to bring up Cheese when even though he's not here, we're going to talk about him, right? So Cheese has a theory, and his theory is the Arizona Cardinals drafted Carson Beck, and they're not going to play Minshew, and they're not going to play Brissett, and they're going to start Carson Beck. They've already sort of releasing stuff like, oh, he's doing great in training camp, and he's, he knows the playbook, and we're releasing little nuggets like, is he really going to start? And if he does start, and they're terrible with him, they can just blame Carson Beck, make him the backup for the rest of his 4-year career that he's already signed, and then next year in the draft, when they stink and they win 1 or 2 games, which by the way, their schedule is brutal. If you want to know more about their schedule, we have that. You can get to us on YouTube. That is All Gloves Off Sports Media on our YouTube page. And you can see that show that we did a few weeks ago actually just a couple weeks ago on the schedule release. So that's his theory. They got him in there on purpose. They're going to start him, and then he's going to stink, and they're going to blame him, and then they're going to get a good quarterback. So we'll see if that whole thing comes to fruition. But right at the moment, what we're doing is we're doing the top 10 quarterbacks that you would build your franchise around. Carson Beck was both number 10 for us. My number 9, Sirhan, I almost said Cheese again. Here's all you need to know and why I put him at number 9. A lot of people are really high on him. I am not. He lost a quarterback battle to Alabama to Bo Nix. He had to go to Liberty to finish his college career. He was traded to the Green Bay Packers for a 7th round pick. And that's all the Tennessee Titans could get out of him after drafting him really high, I believe 3rd round. Malik Willis. He's now going to be the starter in Miami, which, oh, no, poor guy. I almost feel sorry for him. But as far as the people that I would build my franchise around, Malik Willis for me is number 9 for the 2 reasons that I just gave, plus because of how long he's been in the league, you're going to have to pay him now. So I'm certain I would take a chance on maybe even Carson Beck before I would take a chance on Malik Willis because I don't have to pay him near as much. So Carson Beck, number 10 for me, Malik Willis, number 9. Sirhan, give us number 9, buddy.
I'm going to throw a curveball at this.
Uh-oh.
We talked about it with Carson Beck. I think this guy's going to go through it in Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders. Simple, for the reasons we talked about with Carson Beck. I mean, he showed flashes. I'll give him that. He showed flashes, of being someone who could be good, but doesn't yet just put it together. And we know what Cleveland's about to go through. They drafted well. They need a quarterback, obviously. And who are you going to return to? The corpse of Deshaun Watson? I said in my shows countless times, Watson done checked out of the NFL since the 2019 playoff game at Kansas City. That's not a good option. But in terms of Shedeur Sanders, they probably drafted him more as like a publicity stunt. And now knowing that 2027 is coming up with all the quarterbacks, same thing is more likely going to happen. They're going to have a top 5 pick. They're going to draft a quarterback, and they're probably then out of the next year or the year after, they're going to send Sanders out the door. once they finally find their quarterback. That's if Cleveland finds a quarterback. So that's why I put Sanders at number 9, just for that reason, because he might be going through the same thing there that Carson Beck is going through in Arizona.
Okay. I'm not saying I don't disagree, but my next guy, number 8, J.J. McCarthy. He's thrown more interceptions and touchdowns in his career, a 56.6% completion rate, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. No, I'm sorry, I'm skipping a spot here. He 57.6% completion rate, and he has JJ. He's got Justin Jefferson over there, and he still has these abysmal numbers. The only reason he's not lower on this list was because you don't have to pay him yet. So that was his only saving grace as to why he was up at number 8. But J.J. McCarthy for me, number 8 on the quarterbacks to build my franchise around. Sirhan, it's up to you, bud. Where's your 8?
Well, out of what you said real quick about McCarthy, they drafted him 9th overall. They made an investment, and now you get Kyler Murray over there. It's going to be interesting what happens to him moving forward, because if Murray performs well, they might. I mean, a guy they drafted 9th overall. Now we're going to have a real decision in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. But Murray only has a 1-year contract, though.
Right, but even then, we're going to find out real quickly. Well, how good J.J. McCarthy can be if something happens to Kyler Murray and he gets out there again. Because now, I don't want to say there's no excuses. You said it. He has a receiving core over there with J.J. Now they got Juwan Jennings and Jordan Addison. What's the excuses?
There shouldn't be any. You're 100% right. Who's your number 8, buddy?
Number 8, another one I'm going to throw at you, Bryce Young. Think about everything they gave up to get him to the Chicago Bears, and look at what the Chicago Bears managed to turn that into over the past couple drafts. We know that, and the thing is, I mean, a small guy. I mean, he's got the ability, but the only thing is he plays in a structured offense. You have to structure the offense for him because he's short, and his arm strength not all that great, and. Granted, the team around in Carolina wasn't much either, but that's largely because the Panthers literally threw the bank at the Bears to get that top pick, which turned out to be Bryce Young. And if you're going to draft a guy like that, number 1 overall, and you're going to fork all that draft capital to get him, he better amount to something. And I know he finally broke through a little bit this past season, but up to this point, the jury's still out on him. Mm-hmm. So that's why I have him.
I agree. We'll talk about him in here in just a little bit. So we're at 8. Now we're at 7. And I mixed this up a little bit, but I can't believe that this guy's on this list. And he made it all the way to number 7. But that's because you got J.J. McCarthy, Malik Willis, and Carson Beck below him. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Out of the 10 quarterbacks, I'm actually going to put Shedeur Sanders at number 7. Holy crap. He's got a 56.6% completion rate. You guys know I love stats. 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I said that on JJ, and that's where I knew I skipped a line. He has a tight end. Now they've got him, some decent players, but the other reason why I put him here is his dad. He does have Dion. And I want to say this with all due respect to everybody. I love Dion. I'm never going to call him Coach Prime because I think that's just putting him up on a pedestal that he doesn't deserve to be on. But I also don't think that he's going to allow his son to embarrass him. So I'm thinking that they're doing some stuff in the offseason. I think Shedeur will improve, but I mean, you can't get much worse. Number 7 for me, Shedeur Sanders, and I'm going to predict that he will be better this coming season. Just how good will he be? I don't know. Sirhan, who's number 7 for you, bud?
You mentioned him earlier, J.J. McCarthy. The reason I put him a little higher is largely because of the investment Minnesota made to get him. And now remember, you said it best. I mean, he has a receiving core. Why hasn't he produced? I get it. His rookie year, he had the torn meniscus that pushed him back a little bit. Mm-hmm. The problem with him is not some of the plays. He has a case of the good and the bad. But the bad has been like the real bad, so bad to where you want to throw things at him. That's how bad he's been at the bad end. He's had his moments good, but the bad outdoes the good. And that's why, because of it, there's question marks all over the place regarding him. I get it. Minnesota's going through an interesting transitional phase with their roster right now, especially in lieu of firing their general manager, and not having hiring one after the draft, which is a weird situation. But a lot of people thought because he won a national title in Michigan the way he did, it was going to translate to the NFL. Mm-hmm. NFL picks up those kind of quarterbacks in a minute. And since he was found out, we haven't seen anything positive about him. And I hate to say it was negative, but we haven't seen anything that says, okay, this guy's going to cut it. So the jury is still way out on him. And it's more way out on Minnesota given where he was drafted, because he was drafted quite high. So they saw something at the time, but it hasn't panned out.
All right. I really wanted to put this guy higher, but I can't. If I'm going to say that, we haven't seen anything from Carson Beck, and we've seen very little from Malik Willis, and we've seen very little from JJ, this is another guy that we haven't seen anything from. Did very well in college. One of the best in college. He played in the Big Ten, 3,535 yards last year. His touchdown to interception ratio, if you don't know, 41-6. He threw 41 touchdowns and was only picked off 6 times in his college career at Indiana last year. And then 182.9. That's what his passer rating was. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the best in all of college football last year. So do I think he's going to be a good NFL player? I do. Do I think he's going to be a great NFL player? I'm not sure. So because of that, I couldn't put him in my top 5. So I'll drop him in at 6. Fernando Mendoza, now with the Las Vegas Raiders.
To add on to that, because that's my number 6 for the reasons you said, the problem is going to be, remember what they went through drafting Jamarcus Russell number 1 overall. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying the guy's going to be Jamarcus Russell, but if you're going to draft a guy number 1 overall, he better be more than just good. And considering this, and I say this because we know how number 1 draft picks are in all sports, especially if drafting a quarterback in the NFL. Because I know a lot of people think this guy shouldn't have been number 1 overall. But I think he is by default because the Raiders need a quarterback. We don't know that. But I mean, one thing I do like about him, what I liked about him at college, this guy has no fear under pressure. Mm-hmm. But we're going to find out real quick in the NFL if that translates, because they're going to be bringing pressure onto him. And I think it's going to be good. But is he going to be number 1 overall pick good? That is where it's going to be the questions. I mean, I agree with you. I think he's going to be better than some people think. But when you draft someone number 1 overall, I'm saying the guy needs to be a franchise guy like some of the ones in the past, but he needs to be better than just good. And that's one thing where I think we're going to have some real sticking points with him.
Okay. I'm with you there. That's why, again, we agreed. We both put Fernando Mendoza at 6. So for me, 10 was Beck, 9 was Willis, McCarthy was at 8, 7 was Shedeur Sanders, 6 was Mendoza. So number 5, I don't think he's had a very good cast around him. You've already talked about this guy. Carolina just doesn't seem like they know how to put a franchise together as far as that part goes. And maybe Bryce Young has just been, the whipping boy back there behind center. So I'm giving him a little bit of a break, although he's never thrown more than 23 touchdowns in a season. In his 3 years, he's only passed for 3,000 yards once, and that was 3,011 yards, so barely. But he has made steady improvement over the past few years. So I'll give him another chance. I really thought that the Cardinals should have given Murray another chance there. So I'll stick with that kind of theme. I'll put Bryce Young at number 5.
Yeah, the only reason why I put him lower than you is just because as you put up all those numbers. That's the reason why I said there's, even at this point, the jury's still out. And remember, all the draft capital Carolina gave to Chicago to get him. And look at what Chicago's done with that draft capital. They just won the division last year.
Right.
So my number 5, I put him a little higher. He's going to have to put up stats by default despite the situation he's in, but it's Malik Willis. I mean, you just said it. He's in a situation in Miami where, God forbid, the team's going to be absolutely tanking for one of those upper picks for a quarterback. Somebody has to throw and somebody has to put stats up. I mean, I know he's shown flashes of being good, at times in Green Bay. And remember, a game against Baltimore, he was actually holding his own for a minute until whatever happened at that point he got hurt. He's shown flashes of being good, but not consistent enough. But I think in Miami, I think is gonna help him, even though they're not doing anything. He can maybe show what he was capable of if he was given a chance. Because somebody has to play quarterback and put up stats of some sort. Malik Willis is going to do that in Miami, and I think that's why I put him up a little higher than you. I think he's got a chance to show just what he was made of when he got out of college.
Okay. For me, 1 year in, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a 91.7 passer rating, and I like his intangibles. He seems to want to be better. He seems to want to take those hits. I mean, he's not Cam Scatterbo back there behind him. He is on the same team, though. So I put Jackson Dart, number 4, in the quarterbacks that I would build my franchise around. Sirhan, who's your number 4 guy, buddy?
Similar style, just a little bit. I like it also. I know the situation he was gotten into in Atlanta was absolutely a bit of a question mark, but it's more on the Falcons organization than him. Michael Penix Jr. I mean, now with Cousins out, I get they have Tua for this year, but I said I think Tua should have just hung it up before the season started. Now we get a chance to see what he's capable of. I liked him at Washington, what he did, and he was a pretty darn good quarterback. Granted, how he was drafted at Atlanta was an indictment on the Falcons than him. Yeah, I know the guy's coming off the injury himself, but I think he showed promise before, the injury took place. And I think I think you can still build a nice team around him because he's got a nice skill set for a player who can be a successful quarterback in the NFL. Most notably, we talk about, his arm strength and anticipation and manipulation. I think he's got the skill set. He's got to be able to put it together and show it. But I think because of how he was drafted in the situation in Atlanta after they signed Kirk Cousins to that ridiculous contract, it just made it like Penix was a bit of an odd man out when he wasn't. It's just the Falcons mismanaged everything. Now he's going to get a chance. I think he's going to do better than people think.
Okay. So before we give you my top 3, Carson Beck, Malik Willis, J.J. McCarthy at 8, Shedeur Sanders at 7, Mendoza came in at 6 with Young and Dart at 5 and 4 respectfully. You just talked about him. I'm going to put him at number 3 because of a lot of what you just mentioned. Strong arm, can throw the ball on the run. And yes, Atlanta has just mismanaged that team more or at least just as much as Carolina has their team as well. I get it. You said it earlier as well. They've got Tua, so now there's a competition between Penix Jr. and Tua Tagovailoa. I think Penix Jr. will win that competition. I think, as you have said, he'll be better this year than what people give him credit for. In fact, I think I'm going to, if I do the fantasy football thing this year, he's certainly not going to be my number 1 choice as a quarterback. But I think I'll feel comfortable letting, I'll get a good quarterback at the top, and then I'll let everybody else pick those bones. And then I'll try to get Michael Penix Jr. at the bottom of the draft for my backups. So I like him that much where I think he can do what I need him to do. So number 3 for me, Michael Penix Jr. He just got to stay injury-free, though.
Yes, that's the key. I liked him at Washington. He showed everything he said. He showed it at Washington. That's why he was drafted high. Granted, how Atlanta did it was the question, but yeah, that's why I like him just as much as you. And my number 3, you said him earlier. He showed the promise last season, and I think this year, in the right cast, the supporting cast around him, and the right team, I think he'll be better. Jackson Dart. Think about what John Harbaugh had when he coached Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. You have a similar thing here. And if Malik Nabers can still be Malik Nabers coming off the ACL injury, he's still an elite receiver, which gives him a target. They can't remember who the other receiver was. They drafted a good one opposite him. They got Isaiah Likely from Baltimore. It gives him a tight end target. I think Jackson Dart showed a lot of promise as he was going through the season. Just the Giants were just absolutely abysmal down low. But I think he's a guy, and as the Giants I think improve, I think he will improve, and that's why I have him at number 3.
Okay, so when I saw this list again that was put out earlier on our X account, one of the friends of the show, you can get him. Sam Block is his name. He's an ESPN guy. You can get him at the Block Spot over on X. We thank him for initially putting this out and giving me this brainchild idea here to do at the end of the show. So when I looked at all these quarterbacks, I was like, oh, Mac Jones is my clear number 1 guy. Yeah, he's going to be right there at the end. And when I started looking at numbers and when I started dissecting through things, he's not. Mac Jones, number 2. Here's the reason. 4 years in the league so far, he's had 2,000 plus yardage for all of those years that he was a starter. But he's been a starter on 3 different teams. And his record, I thought his record would be better than this. His record is 67-50 in those starts that he's had. So I decided to go with the younger guy that I was going to build my franchise around. We'll talk about him at number 1 in a moment. But number 2 is Mac Jones. Sirhan, give us your list. Go from, can you do that? Go from 10 to 3 and then give us your top 2?
Yeah, if I can remember all this.
I know. I didn't know if you wrote it down or not. I've got all my stuff written down on the side.
Sanders, Young, McCarthy, Mendoza, number 5. I know number 4 I had Penix, as we talked about him.
Yep, because we flipped Penix and Dart. You had
Penix
Dart, at 4, Dart at 3.
Yeah.
I think you had Malik Willis at number 5.
Yeah, Willis at 5. Yep. And my number 2, like you, is Mac Jones. Just because the number 1, I had number 1 by default. But with him, I mean, he showed promise at New England. That 1 year in New England after Tom Brady left and they got to the playoffs. But is it an inconsistency the rest of the way? But I think what he showed when Brock Purdy went down and he filled in, that he can still, in the right situation, hold a starting job and hold it well. I mean, granted, it was a small sample size, but he showed he could still hold it. Put him a right team around him, he might do something. Remember, he had that solid 4 or 5 game run when he was at New England. I think it was the second year after Tom Brady left, and showed all the skills and promise there. So yeah, he has it. Put him in the right situation. I think he can still be a pretty darn good starter.
All right, I'm not disagreeing with you as far as that part goes, but I just thought, like I said, when I was first looking at all these names, I was like, oh yeah, well, yeah, he's going to be the guy. And then I decided to choose somebody else. And I think you decided to choose somebody else too, because you haven't talked about the guy that I'm going to name number 1, so we must have the same guy. And that is 3,169 yards in his first season. He improved steadily as he went through the season. He ended up being 15-7, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And overall, he got himself an 80.2 passer rating. Mr. First Down would be very, very happy with this. I'm sure he's either listening now or he's going to on a tape delay. My number 1 guy that I would build my franchise around, Tennessee Titans quarterback, Cam Ward. Sirhan, he's got to be your guy too, so sing his praises for us. Tell us why he's your number 1.
Well, as he's got better, I think the game started to slow down for him as the season was going on. I mean, I like his mobility. I mean, the team around Tennessee was just absolutely abysmal. We know that. And I think this year it's going to be much better, especially when we talk about drafting Carnell Tate as a top target for him. It's going to make him better instantly. They retool that offensive line. He's going to need protection. He's going to get it. I just loved how his decision making was getting better. His mobility, his ability, his arm strength, and he's got a quicker than expected release. His ability to throw was a lot quicker than I anticipated. And I remember him in Miami, that he was that exact same way. His skill set actually translated over to the NFL. And his competitiveness, I mean, he's a competitor. We consider we just went through that terrible year in Tennessee. And it's just his overall skill set blends in perfectly for today's NFL quarterback, especially a mobile quarterback. But how the game started to slow down for him, and he started to figure it out as the season was going on, starting to make good decisions. I think the future is bright for this kid. And you add the receivers that they added in the offseason, especially Carnell Tate, it's going to make him even better. And I think moving forward, he has a higher ceiling than some people thought when he came out of Miami. And I just like the kid then, and I like him now.
Yeah, he'd be the guy I would start my franchise with. So I think Tennessee is going to be a much improved. They're going to be an improved team. I'm not sure if I'll put the word much in front of it, but they're going to be an improved team this year. They just keep adding, and hopefully they build that team the right way down there. It was announced today, by the way, that they're going to host the Super Bowl 4 years from now. So it'll be interesting. It'll be, let's see, I believe this coming is Rams Stadium is going to be, and then it will be Atlanta. Then it will be Las Vegas, and then down in Nashville, Tennessee, will host that spectacle that we like to call the Super Bowl 4 years from now. So, Sirhan, that was a great list. I appreciate you being with us, buddy. For some people are probably clicking on here and saying, "Oh man, Cheese ain't here," and they click right back away. But some people will click on here and they'd be like, "Oh, it's that Sirhan guy. We got to listen to this." So, yeah, we've had pretty good numbers tonight, sir. I appreciate you being with us. As we close everything out, let everybody know where they can find you at on X.
Well, my user handle is at Sirhan on X, and that's where you can find me on that platform. And as far as my show goes, you can catch it video-wise on X, Spotify, and also YouTube and Rumble. And the audio versions I upload will be on both Apple and iHeart.
All right. So much like us, Sirhan is pretty much everywhere, and he'll be with us and All Gloves Off Sports Media before the month of June comes to a conclusion. We certainly hope and we wish him the best here. We wanted him here. We've chased him for a little bit. Now we've got him. We're going to handcuff him to the microphone and make sure he doesn't escape. So we've got him here in the fold at All Gloves Off Sports Media. So you can catch us, All Gloves Off SM on X. You can go to our YouTube page, which is All Gloves Off Sports Media. And then from there, you're going to be seeing some really great stuff pop up. We just got Mr. First Down on with us. He is now going to be All Gloves Off. Also, All Gloves Off now is Cheap Pop Society. I met with a podcast group yesterday. I met with one before I came on the air today. So look forward to us bringing some more people on. And also, I don't want to, I want to wait till we get the ink dry in the contract here, but we're also going to be doing some things with some other entities as far as sports writing and things like that. So All Gloves Off Sports Media is really growing. Our roster is expanding, and Sirhan is just one of those people who is coming aboard with us. Sirhan, you got anything you want to add to the end of the show before we bid people adieu, sir?
I'm looking forward to the end of June to being part of this great thing that he has going on, and I can vouch for Michael myself because I was one of the I can't speak for you specifically for my view. I was one of the first you came to. I've seen you grow. I've seen the people around you grow, and anybody who follows him he's a great follow. This platform is getting bigger and bigger and better, and I'm looking forward to joining you guys here real soon. And I'm very excited to be a part of this.
All right, and I will send you your check tomorrow for that, all those kind words. So yes. All right, man. We appreciate you coming on with us. Thank you guys very much. And of course, as we say at the end of every single Lights Out Sports podcast, the only thing that's fair in life is a baseball hit between the third and first base line. Sirhan, stay on with us. I'll talk to you off air for a moment. But for everybody with us live, thank you very much. We'll see you next week.